All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome, photo friends.
Hi.
Howdy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Photography and Friends Live. It is the top of the hour. We are about to get started. Thank you for everyone who made it here on time.
All right. Hello, everybody.
The early birds. Let us know as we get everything set up, started, if you can hear us. Will and Sam do a little sound check. Tell us where you're tuning in from, and we'll do a little sound check.
I am tuning in from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm officially out here for now.
Nashville, in the house.
This is true.
And Sam, are you still in San Diego?
I'm down in Oceanside, North County, San Diego. It feels like down here.
And Sam's Wi-Fi in San Diego is
fun.
a little choppy.
Oh no.
We can hear you though. We see you. Your Wi-Fi just has to get off the beach and get to work though.
Yeah, get off the beach, come to work.
Everyone else, I love seeing where you are tuning in from. And we also love, let us know what course you're in and if you're in one of our courses. I know we're on YouTube, so welcome YouTubers. If you're not in our courses, most of our viewers are probably going to be in the Photography and Friends group in our photo classes. Let us know where you're tuning in from and what course you are taking from us. And we'll get started with our little presentation in just a minute, just waiting to let people join us, and then we're going to open it up to mostly just Q&A today. So for any photography related questions, camera questions, even if you have a video question or just a question on
video questions,
life, you can throw those in there too, but we'll try to stick to photo questions. And let's get going. I'll get going with the presentation. So thank you for being here. If you are watching the replay as well, that is totally cool. We appreciate it. All right, Photography and Friends. This is March 2022. Can you believe it was like 2 years ago in March when the COVID really hit, and then you guys were doing weekly live streams, and that was awesome because I just remember taking care of my newborn who is turning 2 tomorrow, and we would just sit and watch you guys answer questions live like every week. It was awesome.
And you'd pop in every so often, and yeah.
But we're doing this. It's our 3rd month in a row of doing the live stream regularly, so I hope everyone's excited to have us here. Hit that like button if you are excited to be here and to have us coming in every month. So welcome. Today's topics, we're just going to talk about what's new in our courses, just a pitch for our wildlife photo contest, which is happening this month, and then jump right into Q&A. So one update, which is awesome, if you are in our photography masterclass, we have this new inspirational photo book that we created. This is based off of our 52 weeks of challenges that we did last year. And I went through and I picked, we brought our top 5 or so photos from every week, and I put it together in a nice PDF that you can download. And I might actually have to print this out because it's a pretty slick book and beautiful photos from our students. So it's cool. So this is just in the photography masterclass, but it should be available in any language if you're in the non-English versions as well. And it's cool to feature our students in this. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback of people being just excited to see like what our students are, the types of photos they're taking. I think one thing we get a little bit is intimidation. We don't want this to be intimidating and for you to feel like, oh, you're like never gonna be able to take photos like this. We want you to feel like, wow, you can take our classes, you can practice, and it's not just our classes. You getting out there and practicing, and you can take amazing photos just like these other students. So this is in the first section of the photo masterclass, so check that out. Another thing is I posted this earlier this week, a student survey. I try to do this every year just so we get a pulse on how you're feeling as a student, what we can do better. And we're really trying to understand who is taking our courses. And so that, if you're in the Photography and Friends group on Facebook, is going to be pinned at the top of the group. There's a post and the featured announcement. So please, if you haven't done that yet, take our survey. That helps us out. Also, exciting news today. We just launched our advanced videography course. And that is something that Will, Sam, and I collaborated on the past couple months or a few months putting it together. Will and Sam, maybe you want to just talk a little bit about what this course is and why it's awesome, even if you're a photographer, but maybe if you want to jump over to doing some video stuff.
Will, you want to take it?
I'm like, do you want to go first? I think my favorite part about this course is that we kind of take videographers' ability and tools that they have already and we expand on them. I think it's really good for photographers, honestly, because we talk about building sequences and building stories. And that is something that's also very important to your portfolio, or like building a story or sequence of shots if you're doing like an event or a collection of photos. So that can translate into videography in that sense. And we talk a lot about that. And, we talk about working with clients too, a little bit. And those are, I don't know, those are like my favorite parts of it, aside from like all the cool locations we did that are like, I mean, my section was more on like a documentary sort of like promo versus like Sam's was out in the wild and yours mountain biking and stuff. There's some cool visuals in it.
Sam, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think Will said it really well. It's a great course to build upon a base you might already have and try new things. And I really think it's sort of setting a new standard. I mean, it's a really beautiful course. I think we got some really cool footage throughout it, and we all, sort of pushed ourselves creatively, which I think was really fun to make it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, excited to get it out there, see what people think. And, I think it should be really, really useful if you're trying to get into videography, or even just, get better at it, get clients, how to show up for clients and do a professional job.
Yeah, cool. And we've had like 60 or 70 people sign up this morning so far. So thank you to everyone who signed up. And I'm sure there's going to be lots more throughout the day and this week during our launch sale. Always the best price you can get our courses during the first week. So check it out. The link is there in the chat and you see it on the screen as well. Photo contest. So this is just a reminder. We're doing photo contests every month or every other month this year. So right now we have our wildlife and nature photo contest. We've got a couple hundred people post photos, but if you haven't done so yet, you still have a few weeks to get your photos in. It ends April 15th is the last day to submit your photo, and then we'll be announcing our top photos late in April during next month's live stream. But this one's really just open to you. Wildlife, nature, get outside, take photos, and there's prizes. Cash prizes, actually Amazon gift card prizes. So you can win some money to buy that next variable ND filter, which we talk about a lot in our advanced videography course, but is also great for photography or whatever else you need. So make sure you post your photos there. And as always, if you want, we get a lot of questions here in the chat in our courses. I mean, I just posted a link to our camera guide. Just what camera should I get? Basic, I saw a question in the group. How does the exposure triangle work? I need more info to understand that. And like literally, if you have a question, we probably posted a guide or a video or something about it on photographyandfriends.com. So all resources, all links to free content, to all of our courses, everything is over there at photographyandfriends.com. And then a big thank you. I'm excited today because I passed 150,000. That's pretty crazy. 150,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is a pretty big deal. It's been slow and steady, I will say. You know, I'm not riding the rocket to YouTube fandom or stardom, but just I've kept chugging along for 10 years now and passed 150,000. And I know I posted, I think on Instagram or maybe in the group earlier this week to get people to try to help me past that milestone. And that's pretty exciting. So
I have a question.
Thank you.
Phil, did you see that, like, is there like a point where it like shot up, or like did it just kind of like a slow curve?
So for me, I've definitely seen some like inflection points where depending on the type of content I was putting out, it increased or decreased. There was definitely like a point earlier on when it was probably like around 40,000 subscribers, and I made the effort to put out some higher quality videos that I saw a big increase, and a couple of those videos went a little viral. I mean, in terms of my videos, but the YouTube channel, to really have success, I think you need to like really focus on it compared to what we do, which is we focus on this group, we focus on our courses, and that's why it has never, I think, been as successful as some other YouTube channels, although I still put out a lot of content on there. But yeah, so I've seen a couple inflection points, but I haven't seen exponential growth the whole time. It's sort of kind of just been slow and steady. But still, I mean, 150,000 subscribers, that's pretty awesome.
That's a lot, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So thank you everyone who has subscribed to the Video School YouTube channel. And if you're not a subscriber, you're watching this right now, and so hit that subscribe button. And Will has a YouTube channel that he's got and is going to be putting out more content on.
It's coming. It's in the works right now.
Is it in the works or is it live? Can we like post a link in the chat and get people over there right now?
The channel is up, but there's nothing really there that's worth watching.
Okay,
There's a couple of like overlanding videos. That's about it right now. I think there's a test that I did with the Fuji X-T2 at 60 frames per second on an ice rink video. That's been the most popular one.
Which what's it called?
I don't know. Will Carnahan?
Will Carnahan, not William.
No, it's Will, because there's another William Carnahan that's a musician.
Oh, I see. Okay. We've got Will with 54 subscribers. We're going to push that over 100 today, okay? Help Will.
I'd like to. You know, I have a buddy out here who I think
subscribers.
is actually in the chat too. He has a channel called A Day in the Field. And he's on the same sort of like uptick that we are, but he does a lot of like nature stuff.
Cool.
Also a very cool channel to check out.
Will, if you get 100 subscribers today, will you post a video in the next week?
Yes. If I hit 100 subscribers today, I will immediately post some sort of like camera review or like a video on our advanced videography course.
Yeah.
But you know, I've got stuff in the can. I just haven't posted yet. I'm getting there.
Well, you're now settled. Okay, and before we get to the Q&A, we'll do a little life update, but there is one more thing that I want to talk about before we get to just Q&A. So hold your questions if you're watching this. Little drum roll for an idea. Okay, let me get rid of us so you can see. All right, so Will, Sam, and I have been tinkering with this idea of a pro level group for anyone who is a photography and friend and wants to take it to the next level. So part of this, we're just throwing ideas out there at this point. So we want to know if people would be interested in this. It would be a paid option, something that we would be giving a lot more time to ourselves, doing things like weekly office hours, more direct feedback, which is something that we're just unable to provide ourselves on a consistent basis to all of our students. Maybe things like exclusive expert interviews where we bring in other photographers outside of just me, Will, and Sam, and bring them in to do like exclusive interviews or Q&As, ask me anythings for that group. perhaps more frequent challenges and contests. And this would be a place where it would be like more of a intimate networking community for highly driven individuals, photographers who want to take it to the next level, people who want to be pro photographers, make money with their photography, or maybe not make money, but just want to take it to the next level. And then we would throw in access to all 115 plus of our courses, which contains our photography, our video, marketing, business, graphic design, all kinds of other courses. So this is just an idea. We need some inspiration from our students to know if this is something you would be interested in. Paul says it would have to depend on the cost. It sounds like it would be really great. I think the question we have is like, we already have these coaching options where I think it's like $100 or so for a coaching call with Will and Sam, which is awesome to get that one-on-one attention. But would there be someone would there be a viability for our group and we would want to limit it. We wouldn't want thousands of people in it like we have in the Photography and Friends Facebook group. We would want it to be more intimate so that we could really spend time with you. But yeah, I think I'm going to just post a poll, but any thoughts or ideas, Will and Sam?
Yeah, I had a really great coaching session yesterday. It was an hour long, and it's $100 for you to do an hour with us because, you know, our time is limited, but I felt like we gained a lot. I gain a lot just by helping people, and I think that's like something that I love doing. I think the person that I spoke with, we went over her like 3 or 4 different photo sessions that she did, and I helped critique, and like we talked about lenses, we talked about how she can push herself, and I don't know. She said she got a lot of help from it, and I think the individual help that we can give in a group like this is going to help people become better photographers, but also, you know, push themselves in a business sense, right? Because like I think that's the big hurdle, is going from hobbyist to professional and making money, but also just like pushing yourself as a creative photographer and having one-on-one interactions with like professional photographers, I think is the best we can do to give back. You know, and I also think there's like a window for like, if you're just starting out, to have like one-on-one sessions. I don't know.
Yeah.
Talking to humans is going to be way more beneficial than listening to a YouTube video or one of our classes. That's not helpful, but like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think this group watching right now, thank you for being here, is a small sample size, but we want you guys to be honest. Like, I just posted a poll on the YouTube live page if you would be interested in it. If you're not interested, that's totally fine. We want to know that if people don't want to pay extra for something like this, that's completely fine. We know that it's not going to be for everyone. We know that people don't have a budget for an extra subscription or fee for another community or something like that, and that's totally fine. But if there are people, the thing that we hear from the coaching sessions with Will and Sam is like, that's some of the best, most like just beneficial time that they've spent with us, is to get that one-on-one feedback. And we're wondering if we can open that up to more people. We've also thrown out that idea of like a one-time sort of mentorship program that would last like 1 to 3 months, which would be a higher ticket price, but where you would be in a select cohort of like 10 people or so, and Will and Sam and I would help you through like 3 months of really intensive work to get you to the next level. So that's another idea. This first idea is more of like just more of a private community that's ongoing, that we commit to doing office hours once a week and all these other things. But yeah, just throwing it out there.
And I think a thing that is most exciting for me, and what I would hope everyone would get out of it, is that, you know, the courses are great. You learn a lot of the technical, you learn a lot of these things, but whenever we do these live Q&As, the questions are specific to people's experiences, whether they're trying to get jobs, their photos aren't turning out how they want. You know, it's you can learn so much, but having that discussion with other photographers is so big. And the current Facebook group is great for that. But again, it's all through, comments or text or whatever it is. So having those sort of live sessions, discussions, really helping people go above and beyond with their photography, I think would just be, it'd be fun for me. Like, I just want to, I love when we have those one-on-one interactions and really get to dive a bit deeper into specifically what someone's trying to achieve with their photography.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'd be really cool, but obviously it's not about me. It's about what all of our students want. So
yeah, and like I said, this is sort of just like a initial idea. We're just starting to tinker with this idea. And we wouldn't be getting rid of the Photography and Friends Facebook group. But the alternative also is that people have asked if we could open up a group or something outside of Facebook. So we would still want to make sure that we have the Facebook group, which is free, available to all of our students. We would still provide the same amount of energy to the Facebook group for people. We don't want to get rid of that, and because a lot of our students love this group and these live streams. But I think there's some people that want to take it to the next level. So, I mean, it seems like from a small sample size, we have 30 people who have voted. 67% say that they would be interested. So that's good to know. I mean, even if it was 25% interested, we might still be excited about that number. But the fact that almost 2/3 of the people watching right now, which you are probably our high interest, people that are like
true fans.
You are true fans that would be interested in this anyways. But that's really good for us to know. So thank you for that. And
Andrea suggested, I think if you're paying for it and you get unlimited access to all 115 courses, that might be, something to think about. Yeah.
I mean, I think in terms of the value you would get from it, it's part of it is like the content, which is awesome. Like we would throw in all the classes, but also I think the other benefit is just like that time, that community. And I think that could be just as valuable for a lot of students. But then, of course, the classes, it makes you feel like, wow, you really are getting a good deal, depending on what the price is. But cool. Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's see. I think I'm going to end the poll, and then I think that is it. So we are going to open up to Q&A. While people go ahead and start posting any questions. Sam, Will, any life updates? Sorry, I didn't ask you at the start. Usually we do a little sort of update from the past month. Any cool projects you guys have worked on? Any updates? Sam got a dog last time. How's Bodhi doing?
Bodhi's doing well. He's been learning to swim here at the beach, which he's a natural at. So that's been fun. And just been practicing my dog photography, really. Trying not to flood everyone on social media with my dog stuff. So spend most of my time thinking about my dog. That's about it.
Nice. And Will, you are officially settled for the time being in Nashville. So, and you already, we were talking the other day, you already did a maternity photo session. You have been working on some stuff out there. How have you transitioned to Nashville and you already started getting some paid work?
Yeah, well, I kind of got lucky because I have family out here. So, tapping into my family's network is a big help. And was it 2 days ago? Yeah, I did a maternity shoot at the house I'm living at now with my cousin. We went outside. I just posted them on Instagram today. So if you go over to my Instagram, it's at William Carnahan, you can see some cool black and whites that I did. Same like casual, candid stuff. They just wanted a quick little maternity thing. She's about ready to give birth. But it's been great. I think mostly I'm going to be splitting time between the two cities. Nashville's good and great, and I'm looking for more clients out here, just expanding both photography locally, but then also Sam and my video production company, Will Call, we're trying to expand as well as, more classes and hanging out with you guys. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, and I've just been really just working on the advanced videography course, which is live now, so that's super exciting. And working on a new course with another photo editor on editing photos in GIMP, which is going to come out next month. So that's going to be really interesting because a lot of people have asked for that class. GIMP is a free alternative to like Photoshop and Lightroom. So for anyone who doesn't want to keep paying a subscription through Adobe or whatever, it's a pretty good alternative. So that'll come out next month. And just, being a dad, kids started T-ball and it's pretty intense.
Go Dodgers.
Yeah, we're on the Dodgers. I bought a Dodgers shirt and a Dodgers hat. I'm an Angels fan. Nice. But happy that baseball is back in action professionally. So that's fun. But yes, thank you for being here, everyone. I think let's get to some questions. I saw one. I'll pin it up here. Gianluca. See. I noticed a stain on the photos. I have cleaned the lens, but it does not go away. Should I be worried? I only have one lens, so I don't think it's the dirty sensor.
It might
If
be
it's
on
the
sensor.
front of the lens, it could be on the back of the lens, or it's on the sensor.
Yeah, it could be on the back of the lens or definitely on the sensor. I would, a good way to test that is to like stop down to like an f11 or 16 and take a picture of like the sky, and then take your lens off and actually look. If it's on the sensor, that's a little bit more difficult to clean. But yeah.
Well, start with compressed air or like a little hand pump. Don't blow on it because you can blow spit or different things, and see if it'll just blow off, because that's great if it can just do that. But if it's something else on there,
yeah.
I mean, also, I don't know if you could just find, go to a camera shop or something and test another lens and just.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if it comes up on another lens, you say you only have one lens, but if you can test it on another lens, if you have a friend with the camera, yeah.
Yeah. If it shows up, though, on the photos, like, you'll be able to see it on the lens or on the sensor. Like, it's not, if you can see it on the photo, you can see it with your own eye.
It'll be big.
Yeah. So, yeah, you should be able to find it.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps. All right. Anurag says, I'm struggling to get good photos from my camera or my iPhone as I'm not able to get the same color of the fabric. I want the fabric to look the same in the photo as seen with my naked eyes. Yeah, that's an interesting question. All cameras are going to capture color differently. The science, like even you take a photo with a Sony versus a Fuji, it's going to look slightly different. Of course, like editing, you can dive into colors and saturation and hue to adjust colors, even specific colors. So if it's like a specific blue fabric that you're trying to edit, you can dive in and with Lightroom or with most of these applications, go in and just edit those specific colors. I mean, otherwise, I would say look at like the different profiles. If you're using with an iPhone or a smartphone, you might not have as many options, but with your camera, maybe you're shooting on a camera profile that is changing it, or white balance. I mean, the white balance is going to totally change if you're on automatic white balance, and you can adjust to a manual white balance. I mean, all these settings you can play around with and try to get it to match in camera versus doing it in post. Any other ideas?
Also, the lighting conditions. So if you're under fluorescent lights, or if you have both daylight and tungsten lights, like it's different color temperatures, and that'll change the colors of the fabrics. Mm-hmm. So having sort of consistent, all the same type of lighting, mm-hmm. Will really help your camera just get natural colors.
Yeah.
And then you can go into, when you edit the photos, really change the colors and settings and all that. But obviously easier if you can just take it and have it look natural. But yeah, so it depends on the lighting scenarios? I don't know. Will, do you have anything that would?
No, I mean, I think everything you guys said was great. I mean, also keep in mind too, when you're shooting with your camera, shooting log, uh, and bringing it in, like you guys said, and messing with the
Raw.
color.
Yeah.
Raw. Sorry. Yeah. Raw, or video is log, I guess. Shooting raw and messing with the color temperatures. I think like when you're trying to get something to be as natural as you possibly can, shooting raw, and then like if you have a laptop or a computer and just like messing around, it takes practice. Like it's not something that's gonna like come to you as far as like coloring to be exactly how it looks in life. But most cameras do a good job if your white balance is set correctly and the lighting is like, balanced.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Zayas Motorsports asks, any tips on shooting action shots? I primarily shoot portraits, specifically race cars.
Oh yeah. I mean, like if you're just trying to get like, if you're just trying to get like a normal shot, just like a nicely frozen shot, the big thing about action shots is you're a high shutter. So making sure that you have something that's a pretty quick shutter for a race car would probably be over 1/1000. You need to be over 1,000th of a second quick, which means that you need to compensate with ISO or f-stop. So that's your first thing. When I do things, I shoot shutter priority because I have a specific shutter that I want. And if you're trying to do that like famous race car shot, I think we talk about it in the masterclass, right? Where the car is in focus, but the background is blurry, so it makes it feel like there's motion. Your shutter has to be pretty low, and you have to pan with the race car to catch it. So there's those two kind of abilities to do action shots. But I would say like long lenses and high shutter.
Yeah, I mean it's a balance.
Definitely having a big telephoto.
Yeah, shooting. But if you're struggling with getting it in focus, and this kind of brings up this next question from Darren. Ask about getting focus issues. You might have to crank up that f-stop, close down that aperture to get a bigger depth of field so you can get it in focus. I think with like race cars, that's a pretty good place to just be able to post up. They're going around the track or whatever, and you just try it. Maybe you end up switching to manual focus because at exactly this point when that car's going around that bend, that's when you're going to shoot, and that's where the car's going to be, rather than doing autofocus. But so Darren asks about like issues with getting birds in flight or dogs jumping, trying to I try to keep the center focus on the eyes, but it's tough. Ideas? Darren, what camera? Oh, You're using a Canon 80D, 7 frames per second.
Whoa.
55 to 250.
Yeah.
I will say with all these things, like doing a lower ISO, so like ISO 100, because you're probably doing this in pretty good light. And so if but if you're doing a high shutter speed and a high f-stop, then you might have to bring up the ISO. And that's where shutter priority does really help in these scenarios. One thing really quick for Zayas, I will say when we did the track day, playing with different angles and stuff, but getting at the right angle, like getting sort of lower so you're even with the car's plane, can make really cool dynamic shots, opposed to like looking down at the cars, maybe from a viewpoint. So like sort of moving around still, finding different angles where like cars coming over the bend or different things like that can be really dynamic. But for birds and dogs, when things are moving around that much, you're going to miss thousands of photos. It's just part of doing those types of shots. But when you do get things in focus, obviously that's what you're aiming for. And that's practice and just taking a lot of shots. The 7 frames a second, I feel like sometimes when I do burst frames, it can actually, I'll miss more than just doing like one at a time and really like nailing the focus and getting that shot.
Then you'll have 7 out of focus shots. I do 3.
Yeah. But at the same time, it sort of depends on your camera. I haven't shot with the 80D, so I don't know how well the autofocus works. Like a lot of the newer mirrorlesses now have such good eye tracking, even with animals, that
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure if the
I think the
80D
80D
has
is pretty
eye
solid.
tracking.
That camera and Canon
Yeah.
had pretty good autofocus, but I mean, there's also settings in there like for tracking. I don't remember with the 80D, but I know with my Fuji X-T4, like there's options to change the autofocus settings where it's more focused on
Mm-hmm.
objects coming towards the camera or panning or kind of general. And like your cameras are smart, but they're only so smart. And you can actually manually adjust these settings where like, like, okay, your dog, you're taking a picture of your dog that's running side to side. You can change your settings to optimize for that movement versus, I mean, with birds, it's hard. Like you're not, although I did, when I was in Ireland for my sister's wedding, we did the hawk, what do you call it? Where you have the hawks and, they fly away, they come back, away, come back. And so
Oh yeah.
that was like a very specific like motion that they were doing. And I didn't change it, but I could have changed the motion of, what I'm tracking. But yeah, that's something to look into as well. Hopefully that helps, Darren. Any other thoughts?
They brought up the cars don't go over 50 miles an hour. That's actually going to be like, you'll just have to practice while you're panning with them because that's not that fast. So you'll have to create a little bit of movement in the long lens if you want that blurry shot.
Yeah. All right. Simran asks, and I just posted in the chat about the difference between DSLR and mirrorless cameras. And I posted a link to an article we wrote, and also we have a lesson in the masterclass about this. So you might want to jump to that lesson about the benefits of one versus the other. I mean, even since we created the masterclass, mirrorless cameras have sort of overtaken as the norm, except for, I would say, like those very entry level DSLR cameras that Canon and Nikon still put out that are very, very popular and great cameras in their own right. But we go deep into like the differences, but in general, like, oh my gosh, what happened to Sam? There's Bodhi. Oh my gosh, look at that dog.
Sorry, he came to say hi.
I think we just got like 50 more likes and subscribers though, so just keep Bodhi up there. Hit that like button to keep Bodhi in the camera. I lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh.
Mirrorless versus DSLR, Bill.
Bodhi needs to come and hang out with Ashby. Oh my God, they would be best friends.
Yeah.
Dog photography classes. Anyways,
Hey,
I would say like in general, like the differences used to be primarily that like mirrorless cameras were a little bit smaller, which led lenses to be smaller, lighter weight. Not necessarily the case for all mirrorless cameras nowadays anymore. They make some pretty big, bulky ones, and lenses are big too. But I mean, in terms of like the quality of the photos and things, it's not really gonna be much of a difference.
I don't think it makes a difference. It's more about like how you shoot, right? So like smaller or, like a mirrorless full frame versus a DSLR full frame. I think the image produced is going to be the same, but it's just how you go about doing it. Like they're the same size sensor. It's just a different way of like achieving the light. The thing about mirrorless that I like, especially at events or street photography, is that they can be dead quiet. There's no like clack of the mirror. So that to me is like a really big difference. If you're talking about the same sensor size and that the DSLRs will be bigger, and everyone's just moving in the mirrorless direction. Like there's no real need to have that clack, especially with like these advanced electronic shutters that'll let you shoot at like a 2.8 in like total sunlight. So
yeah. All right, cool. Hopefully that helps. Okay, Alexander asks, quite sure that you've already explained this before, but can you point me to some good settings for shooting midday portraits? We'll be using a Nikon D7000 and an M50 with the, looks like a typical kit sort of zoom lens. I mean, we talk about this a lot with, shooting in full sunlight. I think that's probably the question, but I mean, my question is, do you want to put them in the sun? Can you find somewhere, where there's a little bit of shade or where you can control light a little bit better? And I mean, in terms of settings, like it all goes back to like, what are the creative decisions you're trying to make? Typically for portraits, you want that nice shallow depth of field. So you're going to open up your aperture as wide as you can, especially with those lenses. Maybe it's like an f2.8, maybe f4. And then from there, it's all about exposure. And, you put your ISO as low as you can go, which should be totally fine shooting outside. And then your shutter speed is going to be the last thing that you have to control exposure. And shooting with a high shutter speed is totally fine for portraits and for photography. Just crank that shutter speed up. Any other like creative decisions or thoughts?
I would agree with Phil. I think my settings would be like the most important thing is putting them in the shade or making sure the sun is behind them so they're backlit. Shooting at a 2.8 or an f4 because you want that professional, less things in focus. And then for a kit lens, shooting at the very end of that kit lens. So like whatever the zoomed in 55 is, whatever, to help achieve that shallow depth of field. And then shutters would be the last thing that I'd be looking at. And it can kind of be whatever. So
although
aperture.
I wouldn't, if it's 18 to 108, I wouldn't shoot at 108 on a crop sensor for portraits. I would do 55 definitely, but 108 would. That's like
funny because I'm
a 150 though. That's like a 150 equivalent on the full frame. I don't know. I guess.
I mean that's
definitely
like me shooting a 70 to 200 at a wedding. I'd be at the end of 200 if that's all I had. If I wanted to make that like depth of field possible, and it was a kit lens and it only went down to like a 5.6. Then whatever I can do to like get it to be like shallow depth of field, which means longer lens. But that also puts you, like Sam says, puts you far away from your subject. So if you want to be able to like be closer and interact with them.
Yeah, and also if you can wait, you say sort of in midday, if you're able to arrange it to shoot them at golden hour, like lighting is most important when it comes to portraits. Like all that technical stuff is really good to do, but if you can wait a bit later when the sun is just a little bit, further down in the sky, or like these guys said, of finding a shady spot. But if you can get that golden hour light, it makes a big difference.
I'm going to post a poll, as we always like asking people, like sharing what brand are you shooting. And I was sacrificial in not including Fuji. I know there might be some Fuji users out there, but I added for Sam and Will, the only two people using Leica here, I'm pretty sure. A Leica option. Cool. Hopefully that answers your question, Alexander. Thank you so much. If you're watching this video and you're appreciating our Q&A content, let us know in the chat, and also hit that like button. Thank you for being here live. And if you're watching this in the future, 6 thumbs up for being here with us. All right. This is a question for Will. Danny asks, really new to photography, but I'm trying to improve my pictures inside a ice hockey rink, which have notoriously poor lighting. Any tips? He's got the 70-200, speaking of, on Canon on the T3i kit.
I would say there's nothing you can do to get around the poor lighting in a hockey rink because it's just so vast, unless you can like rent the hockey rink and put up your own lights and like turn them off. You're kind of just stuck with what you got. I think having the 70-200, and again at the end, right at the 200, being able to create that depth, that shallow depth of field, is the best thing you can do. And then obviously with hockey, it's a very quick sport, so shutter, right? You need a high shutter. But again, it can be dark in those hockey rinks. So I don't know if your 70-200 is a 2.8, but shooting at 2.8 or a 4 if you have to, and keeping a high shutter at 200 is the best thing you can do. And bumping your ISO up as much as you can on a T3. I think that's a decent camera with ISO, but not like the best. So, maybe I mean, that's the best you can do. The thing with like that kind of thing is that the lighting just is what it is, so you have to try and make the best of it. You can get a tripod and shoot on a long lens, and then you can lower your shutter to get the less shake out of it, but the players are still going to be moving quickly. Something that I found with when you're in a really poor lighting situation, and if you can do it, is editing it so that it, you can kind of desaturate it, or do the best you can. I think one of those situations, like, it is what it is, so you just have to do your best. So high ISO, high shutter, long lens.
Okay, cool. Devora asked about using an external flash. Let me see if I could find that post again. But they got an external flash, and they were asking about how they can learn to use that. And I just posted a link to the lesson in our masterclass if you're on that course. We have some lessons in the photography masterclass about using an external flash. And so I would definitely go through that. And
they're pretty basic, but also what I've noticed is our product photography course that Sam and I do, we actually spend a lot of time on external flashes and strobes and natural light to get you around that. But at the end of the day, learning the basics and then practicing a lot, because flash photography is hard and it will take lots of practice. It always takes me a few minutes before I'm even close to nailing it. And even then I'm like, it's just hard. You have to practice it. It's like playing an instrument.
I'm going to post a link to all of our courses. That product photography course is down at the bottom of that page. But yeah, that is an underrated, awesome class that Will and Sam put together. Not many people have taken it, but it's a really great class. All right, we have 15 minutes left. I think we got some good time to answer more of these questions. Let's see. Andrea asked, do you need a telephoto lens to make those shots? Oh, this was regarding the car action sports. I think the panning
telephoto
shots
helps a lot.
It helps.
I mean, you could do it on a wide, but it just won't look as cool.
A day in the field,
you're right there next to the car, could be pretty cool, but dangerous.
A day in the field asked, this is more videography, but any tips keeping cinematic feel in extremely low light? No ability to add in extra lights.
Go ahead, Sam. That's a good one for Sam.
I mean, it's hard. I feel like I would want, is it are you shooting indoors? Are you shooting weddings? Are you shooting, what are you shooting?
Yeah, you have to decide what cinema feel is, right? Is it the shallow depth of field and the movement? That's what makes it feel cinematic, right? So in low light, opening up as much as you can, but also having a longer lens and creating that shallowness is the best I think you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, getting a lens that shoots at a 1.4 f2 will definitely give more of that cinematic low, shallow depth of field. Your shutter is going to be 1/50th. You're going to open up your f-stop as wide as possible, and then whatever your ISO can do without looking really grainy and noisy and bad. Knowing the ISO capabilities is huge. Oh, A6600. That's so you can go pretty high ISO on that.
I mean, I was spaced out, but there's a whole different side of just the settings, but adding motion and composition and all those other things. That's what's gonna also make your video cinematic.
I think something that that's what the videographers don't do enough of is, and I feel like something you could do really quickly is the panning, but also pushing in on things slowly. That is a huge cinematic thing that you can just do and stabilize later if you're just doing a handheld. That'll add so much cinema value to it. It's just a subtle push, a subtle push.
And getting those detail shots and getting up close to things and whatnot, and then adding that little motion, whether you're moving left or right or whatever it is, adds a lot of that cinema feel.
I have a great question, and I'm going to add this as a poll because I want to know what people think here. Devora asks, is photography primarily a learned skill, or is it mostly talent? Is it possible to be great at it without any natural talent?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The thing about photography and like cinematography is like it's this perfect intersection of technology and art, right? Like there is so much like technology that you can learn by the numbers, and like you can expose correctly. Like we know the Sunny 16 rule, like it's this ISO at this f-stop at this lens, and that'll like do it. But you also have to be able to like learn how to like artistically compose a shot that will like say something by just looking at it visually. So I don't know how to answer that, but like you can learn all the technical things you can, but to be creative and like do other things, you have to practice at it. And some people are naturally good at that, and some people just need to practice more. It's, you know, but that's like everything else.
But I feel like even though like it might be naturally that they pick up a camera and can see composition or see, I think it's just what they're paying attention to. And it might be that some people have to think more about that and some people think less about it. But I still think it's like, especially nowadays, we all walk around with cameras in our pocket, right? So we're always able to sort of look at those things. And I think it is, you learn by doing it more and more, it's the repetition thing.
But
I think, yeah, I think it's,
anyone can be a good photographer. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
this
absolutely.
okay. This is like so interesting. I mean, I put the poll out, 16 votes so far, and 62% say learned skill, and 38 say natural talent. I would say I don't know if it's framed in the right way, but I would hope that like everyone who's in our courses believes that it can be a learned skill. I think with any art or anything, like, yeah, there's going to be some people that have it appears a natural talent. I mean, natural, what does that mean? Does it mean like your parents showed you books with more interesting photos or artwork as a child and that was ingrained in your memory as a child, or maybe you were fortunate enough to go to like museums, or your parents had cameras and shot photos, and so now you're a young adult and you have this natural ability. But I would 100% say that anybody can be a great photographer, and you don't need natural talent to be a great photographer. And it takes just learning and practicing. I mean, that's what I believe, but that's also why I teach online courses about photography.
Right, but with everything in life, it's like, I can cook really good mac and cheese and I can cook horrible pasta. I can take great photos of landscapes and can take horrible portraits. Like you whatever you practice in life, you'll get good at eventually. But there is that next level, I guess, of like people that are like the greats that will go down in the history books. Did they learn to get to that point, or was it something else?
right.
Yeah.
And just because they are doesn't mean that like anyone can't be like a good photographer. Like anyone can like, and that's the crazy thing about our phones is like you can take your phone out and take a picture, and you don't have to think about f-stops and lighting and shutters and ISOs. You just go out and you think about the composition. Like, and that
Right.
minimalizes it. And then when you're ready to take the next step to like a camera where then you have to think about the f-stop, the ISO and stuff. So it's like,
Yeah.
learn.
I mean, I think maybe it is a combo. There are people with natural talent, but I hope that whoever's watching this, and Devora who posted this, like, I don't want you to feel like, well, you're never going to be a good photographer because you don't have natural talent. I don't think that is at all true.
Totally. Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let's try to run through these quickly. Let's see. Okay, Michael Johnson asks, I was wondering if you had any tips on how to get everything in focus in a frame. I open up my aperture all the way, but when I zoom in, the stuff further away is still soft. I'm guessing you mean maybe close down your aperture and increase your f-stop to get that deep depth of field. But I mean, still though, it depends on what your focus.
Lens.
Say that again.
A wider angled lens.
Yeah.
Like anything more telephoto, even at f/22, you'll get things out of focus. But if you do a wider angle lens, because of how optically they work, more will be in focus.
Yeah. I mean, it still depends on what you're focusing on, or where different things are in your frame. Like if you're shooting a big wide open landscape, but there's like some trees or mountains that are closer to you and your camera focuses on those, even with a closed down aperture, that the things in the far background might still be out of focus. I would love to like see some of those photos. And I mean, if you're trying to get everything in perfect focus, I don't know, like you said, Sam, like a wide angle lens will help with that. But also you just have to understand that everything kind of has to be in a similar plane.
Stopping down
depending on the situation. All right, let's see. Let's scroll through these. Greg Kisteman says, my cat is jealous that he's not getting screen time. June says, yes, do dog photography classes. Let's see. Thank you for being here as always. Sam says, I miss Sony. Uh-oh. Let's see. Any new ones? How do you do low-key photography with one flash? We should do a lesson on this and add it to the masterclass. I don't know if your product photography class has this in it, or if there's any tips or ideas.
A little bit, but it's a little different for portraits, right? Because it's like you're looking at a face versus like an object. Low key portrait, like as in like a low key light. Is that what the question is?
I think they're talking about like one light, just using one light to get like different creative portrait lighting is what I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the whole thing behind like flash portrait photography is like you're trying to like, you're basically trying to mimic the sun in a way that's like natural. So having, what's the sun? The sun is like a big freaking light source that's giant that spills all over the place, especially when diffused by clouds. So you're trying to mimic that with a little tiny flash. Is hard, and the things you need to do are like just make it a bigger source. So either like a bigger flash or shoot it through something that spreads out the light and move it to one direction. Diffusion is like a big thing. I use a big like octagonal double diffusion straight flash to try and recreate. The bigger source you can, the nicer that like sort of Rembrandt lighting is going to look. And then positioning it just a little angled off, so the light can kind of like wrap around someone's face. Sam actually has a really good natural light. Actually, you guys both do right now. But Sam, I know, is sitting at a window, right? So he's got that like nice diffused light that's like moving around his.
I think what we need to do is add like a tutorial on like some super creative ways to use either a flash or just one regular light, and like really dive deeper into portrait lighting. I think. I feel like students ask for that frequently, and we could add that to the master class and maybe even expand it into like a full just intense lighting class. But
I mean, for sure.
Steven asked, will you be adding a food photography tutorials in your Udemy course? I think they're talking about the master class. So Will and I have a specific food photography class. It's from a while ago, but that's a solid little, that's like one of our OG courses, but still has some great tips and techniques for DIY food photography. I would say that, I don't know, again, your product photography class might have some tips. We don't have the food photography lessons in our master class, and I don't know if we have any plans to do it now, but I would check out those other classes.
Yeah, we do have that old food photography course, and then we touch on it very briefly in the product photography course, but I don't know. I feel like the food photography course probably could use an update. It's a DIY food photography course, so we don't even use flashes in it. We just use natural kitchen daylight.
Yeah. Kelsey asked, super random question, but I recently shot my friend's wedding and now her birthday is coming up. Any cool ideas of what I can do as a gift, which includes some of the pics I took? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Prints, canvas prints, books, things like that. What do you do?
Oh, Simran asked, where's our friend William from the Udemy class? I was wondering what you meant, but
I'm ready.
Bill's here.
But yeah, I think little things like that. Like I think prints are like usually huge because a lot of people sometimes just don't do prints anymore, or
Yeah.
canvas prints, or
I
like
did a
little books.
canvas print for my sister because I didn't like, I wasn't the official photographer, but I took some photos and that was really cool. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think just like a nice print would be good. Yeah, you could play around with like, I mean, I know like, I don't know where you're at, but Costco does like metal prints and things like that. I
Or
usually,
find a cake shop that does the photo on the cake.
yeah, yeah. I have to like tinker with that. Let's see if there's any more good questions. Anurag asks again, can you take a course or tutorial on taking good photo of fabric? Post your question in the Facebook group, or send us a message at email at support@videoschool.com so I can understand what you're trying to achieve, and then we'll look at it. Greg
And
asked,
share the photos too, so we can see them.
Greg asked if we're paying attention to the web telescope photos. I am not.
You should check
Are
them
they
out.
starting to come out? Are they starting to come out already? I feel like it was going to be. Oh yeah, no, I need to look into that though.
Steven asks, links, where are they? What links are you talking about, Steven? To the courses?
The food photography course I just posted in there. It's
okay, cool.
udemy.com/course/food-photography.
Yeah, or just go to photographyandfriends.com and there's links to all of our stuff. So, cool. I think unless there's any last questions that pop in right now, we're going to shut off the Q&A right now. And again, as always, thank you so much for being here live with us. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, subscribe. This is where we're going to be doing our monthly live streams. And yeah, we got the wildlife photography class. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we want people to know about. If you're interested in video production, please check out the advanced videography course that we just posted. I mean, there's links everywhere now, so go to, there's other YouTube videos I posted about it. If you're in the photography and friends group, I probably sent you a couple emails today about it. So check that out. Your support really helps us. And if you just want to give back to us for being here today, go support us, get that class. And we will be talking more about this idea about a pro level community or mentorship program. David asks, why are you all three wearing hats?
Our hair's all messed up.
Literally, like before we got home, we're like, bad hair day. I'm going to do one last poll just because we have people here live. So don't leave us yet. I want to do it one poll. I'm going to ask, would you prefer a intensive 3-month mentorship program versus an ongoing private community? And in terms of like what that looks like, it's like the 3-month program would be like super small, 10 people maybe, pricier. I mean, we're thinking like, I don't know if we want to throw out prices.
Yeah, we haven't decided that yet, but it would be a lot.
It would be more. Yeah, it would have to be worth everyone's time. We want people to be super serious about it. Or an ongoing community where it's like with weekly office hours like this, and also even more direct one-on-one feedback, exclusive interviews, access to our courses, and all those other things. Monthly private. So I'm going to throw this poll up there. Cool. And this would be like pro level, like people who have a goal of making this their job or making money from it. I mean, both the goals is both the like a one-time 3-month thing versus like a monthly would be to oh shoot, I just deleted it. But both would be the goal to like help people take it to the next level. We just want like an initial idea. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, it is on there.
Yeah, I think the idea would be the monthly pro level private community would be like both would be very interactive, and I think either one. I think specifically the 3-month mentorship would be to like push you as like a professional, especially if you're trying to make money.
And you would get more one-on-one time. You might get like one-on-one calls more with Will and Sam individually with the intensive 3-month mentorship, whereas the private community would be more like photography and friends on steroids, with more office hours and stuff like that.
Right, not necessarily pro level in the sense of for professional level. It's right,
Yeah.
like
help you grow
for photographers of any. Yeah, I think a lot of people got thrown off by the pro level thing of saying like, well, I'm not a professional photographer necessarily.
Sam had was trying to get likes with Bodhi, but I've got Lucy here. Lucy, who's turning 2. Lucy, can you give me some subscribers? Hit that subscribe button.
Man, I don't have any.
So yeah, let us know. Well, it seems like there's interest in both. So that's good to know too. And maybe we do both, and that's totally option. We want to be able to provide whatever support people need.
Cool.
So yeah, we'll tinker with the idea. We just want to continue to serve, continue to help you become a better photographer. And thank you for being here live with us. So much love, everyone. We'll see you next month. And until then, keep posting your photos in the group. Keep taking the classes. If you haven't done so, go leave a review for our classes. That is like the one thing that helps us. So go to Udemy, go to Skillshare, wherever you're taking the classes, and leave those reviews and ratings right now before you get off your computer. We appreciate it. Takes 60 seconds. Sam, Will, much love.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Much love.